Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm SamyCaps, and today we're talking about one of the most important aspects of any ARPG, the endgame. With the release of PoE 2 coming up on November 15th, Grinding Gear Games is making it clear they're all in on making sure the endgame is solid from day one. This is a massive deal because, let's face it, a lot of ARPGs launch strong but stumble hard when it comes to delivering satisfying endgame content. Diablo 4, Last Epoch, just to mention a few, and they have faced serious backlash over weak endgame experiences. Jonathan Rogers, the game director of PoE 2, has stressed that they are determined not to fall into that trap. Today, we're going to talk about why GGG's focus on endgame content is the right move for PoE 2 and why it's so critical for the long-term success of the game. One of the biggest challenges for any ARPG is keeping players engaged after they've completed the campaign. It's pretty common for ARPGs to get rave reviews for their campaign or initial launch content, but once players hit max level or complete the story, the question becomes, what's next? This is where so many games fail. Look at Diablo 4. It had an amazing launch, but the endgame is where things fell apart for many players. Players criticized the repetitive nightmare dungeons and lack of varied endgame activities. Last Epoch faced similar issues where its Monolith of Fate system was interesting but needed more depth to hold players' attentions long term. Grinding Gear Games is learning from these mistakes. In fact, Jonathan Rogers, the game director of PoE 2, has openly stated that a solid endgame is mandatory for the success of any ARPG. He doesn't want PoE 2 to be just another game where players hit max level and then feel lost because there's nothing meaningful to do. Rogers has confirmed that the focus of their development right now is 100% on getting the endgame ready before early access begins. They've already built a robust campaign with over 100 unique areas and bosses, and with the campaign essentially finished, their entire focus is on delivering a deep, varied, and rewarding endgame experience. Rogers has promised that PoE 2 will include multiple endgame systems, not just one repetitive loop. This is where Grinding Gear Games is making the smart move. Diablo 4 suffered from the community's outcry about its endgame, which caused player numbers to drop after the campaign was completed. Last Epoch, another example, saw a lot of hype during its launch, but fizzled out quickly due to its shallow endgame, which ultimately hurt its long-term player retention. Grinding Gear Games understands that if you want players to stick around for the long haul, you need meaningful, repeatable content. They've taken this to heart by focusing not just on massive boss fights and intricate systems, but ensuring that the endgame feels rewarding every time you log in. And it's not just about difficulty, it's about variety. Rogers has mentioned that PoE 2 will have multiple parallel endgame systems to keep things fresh. That means players won't feel trapped doing the same activity over and over. This is exactly where other ARPGs have failed. So what can we expect from PoE 2's endgame? While Jonathan Rogers has been careful not to reveal too much, we know there will be pinnacle bosses similar to PoE, but with even more challenging mechanics. There will also be maps and other activities designed to push your builds to their limit. Grinding Gear Games' strategy is clear. They're building an endgame that evolves over time, and they're aiming to release it in a state where players have plenty of content to sink their teeth into from day one. The team is making sure that not only is there depth, but also diversity in what you can do at max level. In the end, Grinding Gear Games is taking the right approach by focusing heavily on endgame content before the release of PoE 2. They've learned from the mistakes of other ARPGs like Diablo 4 and Last Epoch, to mention a few, where strong campaigns couldn't make up for the lack of endgame. By prioritizing this, GGG is ensuring that PoE 2 will not only have a successful launch, but also enjoy long-term success. Now, we'll learn more about PoE 2's endgame sometime in November, as per the communication we've heard so far from GGG. I'm really excited to see what they have in store for us on November 15th. What are your thoughts? How important is the endgame for you in an ARPG? Drop your comments below, and don't forget, subscribe for more PoE 2 news and updates. You can also catch me on Twitch at SamyCaps, where we'll be diving into the latest news and, of course, playing Path of Exile 2 on release day. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll hope to see you next time. The opinions expressed in this video are mine and solely mine. Healthy debate is always encouraged. Hate is never welcomed. So get over it.